good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 139 of New York Red Bulls Discussion Group, the podcast. I'm Gary Redmond. Greetings and salutations. So, this weekend was a very good one, in case anyone hasn't noticed. All of our teams played, all of our teams won. So, with that, of course, we're going to talk about all that, of course, with two of our rant men, which is Miguel Nunez and, of course, Lanre Badmus. Of course, we're going to be actually going through a quick review of New York Red Bulls versus Chicago Fire, and that was a nice little bounce-back win. It was a bounce-back win that they needed, and a bounce-back win they got. Of course, then we're going to take a trip after next week. They're going down to Florida as the Orlando City, team that we walked up for the tie back at the Cathedral. Here comes the return leg down, of course, at Inter & Co Stadium. Of course, naturally, the Gotham didn't play this week because of the international break. The New York Red Bull 2 did, and of course, they got a nice victory. We'll talk about that. And of course, as always, if you happen to miss the live show, which is happening right now, don't sweat it. We got on-demand recordings of our broadcast on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, X, which is going on right now, which is, of course, formerly Twitter, in case you guys didn't know, and Spotify.com. All of our episodes are going to be loaded on the very next day. If you have any questions or comments, of course, to our hosts and our guests, let us know how we're doing. We welcome all of our feedback, good, bad, indifferent, what have you. Shoot us an email at rbdgthepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's rbdgthepodcast@gmail.com. So we always like to know how we're doing so we can always be one of the best soccer-related podcasts out there. We definitely need your help in there. Push us along if you feel have any questions and comments. And finally, we got a birthday shout-out to two of our great friends, Camilo Guzman and, of course, Finn Rabasal Jr. Happy birthday to you both. Hope you get celebrating, of course, naturally with your family and friends, of course, one more lap around the world. And, of course, we had to take the day off last week because of family commitments. Family is fine, but thank you very much for your thoughts and prayers. It was very well appreciated on behalf of the family. And, of course, now we're right back in it. Or more than anything else, we won the weekend. So, please, the music ends. We're going to basically talk about blowing that horn. And, of course, we'll do that right now. So, City lost their game versus Minnesota. We won the game versus Chicago. So, as always, this is where the fun begins, where we basically blow that horn. That's a celebratory mood and for good reason. It's not every day that we get to do this and everything else. So we continue. So we get to, blow that horn. And so let's do just that. And of course, to start off the show, there we go. And so to bring, of course, my two friends, of course, who are the stars of the show, the two rant men. Okay. Unfortunately, they're not going to have very much, of course, to rant about because after all, the weekend was pretty good. The one and only Miguel Nunez, live from Casa de Nunez out in New Jersey, and also over, of course, in New Jersey, the Garden State, the model, Lanre Badmus. Gentlemen, I trust that your weekend was quite good.
It was great.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good, although I've been recovering from a bad cold, like a bad chest infection. So
we're glad you're on the mend and all the way about it. Let's talk about real quick what happened the week before, of course, before our game versus Chicago, and that was New England, where it left a very nasty taste in everyone's collective mouths, including the coach, who was visibly upset of the lack of defensive, how should we say it? It was just a bad night for everybody around. Lanre, you saw the game. You did not mince words. It's a good thing we didn't have that show last week because you was ready to light people up. Real quick, your thoughts before we move on.
Oh God, man, I was really ready to just fire everybody up. I was ready to light everybody on fire. Nobody was safe. It was like,
you would have came in the locker room and everybody up, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Gangster style.
Miguel, you and I talked about this many times, and first of all, Carlos Gill, shot a howitzer for a free kick that no goalkeeper out there was going to make that save unless unless the guy wears a cape and calls himself Superman. But defensively, you were taking out your red marker and going, this guy needs to go. That guy needs to go. This guy can't make a pass. It was just a bad night.
I mean, to no one's surprise, Gary, every time this team goes up there, good things usually don't happen. Okay, it was the last time we won was there was a cross by Red Bull legend Ashley. What was his name? That English guy. Ashley Fletcher.
That's an own goal.
It was a cross, and then it was an own goal. And somehow we won.
Own goal, I believe.
What?
I think it was a Matt Polster own goal.
Matt Polster own goal.
Oh yeah, was it him?
Yeah, 90th minute.
Okay, yeah. No, but I thought it was another guy. But anyway, I digress. Once again, we go up there and we don't seem to get it done. Okay. Chupo got his first goal from the run of play. Okay. So happy about that. Okay. But a couple of other guys should have really scored. Sofo should have scored. Goma should have scored. He should have had two, but I would have taken one from him. Okay. And then what can you say? Carlos Gill, he was the overall man of the match. Okay. I mean, what a free kick. Nobody's stopping that.
No.
Okay. And
unless that keeper's wearing a cape and an S in front of him, no, you're not making that save. So
and you know what? Yeah.
Maybe Goku would.
Huh?
I thought
maybe Goku would.
Nah.
I thought
Goku.
Yeah, maybe he can fly. But, I'm talking anybody has has flight, but unfortunately, we have a flightless bird in Carlos Coronel, and he was rooted. There was nothing he can do except watch it go by and into the net. So,
yeah, and Garry, I thought that penalty was rather soft.
But then again, it was kind of predictable because the defense was just simply making mistakes all across the board. And
right. Coronel, I mean, he kept us in the game. Okay, this past game, he went insane. Okay,
we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay,
go ahead.
So moving on, to Saturday, where Coach was still hot and bothered, of course, about the incident that took place the week before, and he was going to make some changes. He didn't like the way guys were losing their fundamentals as far as keeping the ball and keeping possession. So he made some changes about one in particular. Anybody remember Tim Parker? When's the last time that dude made a start? Well, he did. And so...
Well, I think he started because... Wait, was Nealis suspended? I forget. Okay. No. So, I guess he was a better option than Hack. But you know what? That goal that Chicago scored totally exemplifies the lack of pace that the guys on the
which is a concern.
Have. Oh, okay. Like that dude just.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mickey, but Dylan was also way out of position on the goal. So, it was. I faulted both him and Parker personally for that. I'm just like, it was complete.
No, but Parker was just left in the dust. That guy just blew past him, and then you see him jogging back because no way he was going to get there. Okay, and you know what?
He's jogging in his wake. He was like,
right.
No.
This team. Listen, this team wants to play. The system is everybody goes up. Like with our defense, they're usually at the halfway line. Okay, but if you want to play like that, you gotta have guys that can get back like this. Okay.
Well, unfortunately,
that's what we don't have.
Unfortunately, they don't. Right? I mean, no. Unfortunately, they got maybe one, maybe two guys that can actually do that. and one of them almost wound up, of course, on the team of the week, of course, and so that was that was a good night by him. However, he was also causing fits all over the place, and then Noah Ella, another one of our kids, was able to step in and put out fire after fire after fire after fire.
That guy played his best game for us.
And Carballo, he was turning the ball over. Dylan was not in position, and Parker got smoked. And Mark, who's also our tactical guy, he just put it succinctly. If this is going to be our defense, we are in trouble. And that's what my concern is. The fact that we have veterans that can able to step in and take in, been there, done that, guys. Unfortunately, these guys are just a little step too slow, and that's my concern. Where they're going to be facing some real pacey dudes up top, and we're going to sit back and watch these guys get exposed. But that's for another discussion for another day. Let's, of course, go through the recap, and then we'll, of course, make some decisions on who is the hero and the GOAT. You guys discuss that among yourselves. So here what's happened on Saturday night, in its entirety.
Stage 7 in Major League Soccer, in a fixture that has played its part in the running of MLS for so many years. Red Bull New York, comfortable as any amongst home confines. Chicago.
Matchup between those two, with Choupo-Moting looking to drift to that left-hand side as well. Create those wide overloads.
Edelman. And towards goal. Easily gathered by Chris Brady. Goma. Kuipers finds something here. To Zinchenko. Zinchenko across goal. Required a save from Coronel. Bamba to pick up the scraps and pieces. Does it open up something here for Chicago? Zinchenko. It's Bamba. He must. And does.
Big compact defensively. When they win the ball, they go and they try to go quick, and Zinchenko releases Bamba.
Speed again. Lovely ball fed through. Valencia across, heading towards goal. Fabulous finish.
We need more runners in the box from a Red Bull perspective, and it's an excellent run across there.
Choupo-Moting in. Now then, immediately the referee says penalty. Kellen Acosta can't believe it.
Where they stretch you wide, and Choupo-Moting just comes on the edge, and when he moves into the wide areas, that allows runners to come through from a deep line position, and Dylan Nealis fills that space so well.
Sandoval Schwartz said to us during the week he needs Choupo-Moting to be a centre forward. Can he deliver here? Yes, he can. And how?
Casual, short run up, and just a little bit of a delicate chip there, right down the middle.
So it's Goma. Martin header, and the ball is played forward now for Sopo, who's in here. Sopo's behind. Offside the verdict.
Get a good look at this one here with the ball in behind, and yes, Sopo, for me, live play, seemed clearly a step off there. Just the ball came over. You look at Murderer's Row as far as that Eastern Conference, so I think we'll find out a lot about this team in the second half, and then this next stretch for them in the Eastern Conference.
Maybe we'll find out something about them here as Red Bull push forward. Choupo-Moting! Good save from Brady.
Of late, going end-to-end for both teams in transition. It's a lovely little ball in behind. Choupo-Moting just trying.
Meantime, though, will Chris Brady be tested? This free kick from Forsberg. Lovely ball across goal! And frankly, it deserved better. Delicious ball whipped right in that corridor of uncertainty.
Nealis starts this on the very top of your screen here and just goes in the back post, and it bounces to him, comes up quickly, but
Pineda inside. Very nearly released. Zinchenko and Kuipers loitering, as is Bamba. Bamba gets the half a yard. Forces Coronel into the save. Here's Glasgow across goal. Away from Barlow and scrambled away by Parker.
That set up really well for Chicago. You see, Bamba is difficult going away from goal to generate power, and Coronel drops that one, and that ball just a little bit behind Barlow. Just needs to...
Nilis. Fighting ball behind Yengur. Into Enel Forsberg. Fabulous save from Brady.
Inside, picking and probing these passes, and this ball drops to Yengur. Just gets a touch over to Forsberg and comes quickly at Brady. Not a lot of time. He turns on it quickly through a crowd and
he's piled forward for the Fire. Bamba to the back post. Barlow rolls, as did Kuipers. Pineda slips it through. Glasgow across goal. Fabulous save. Kuipers denied. Inside the 6-yard box.
this is a chance earlier from Mauricio Pineda, who just slips it in behind to Glasgow.
So there goes the final whistle. Red Bull rejoice. 3 points claimed with their third victory of the season.
All right. So, of course, naturally, final score, as you can see, New York Red Bulls 2, Chicago Fire 1. Nagoma Choupo-Moting, of course, the penalty, and just into halftime. Bamba, the lone goal in the 32nd minute. And before anyone gets any crazy, Nagoma's made his first start this season, which he scored his first goal of the year, his fourth in his MLS career. North Plainfield native has scored both of his MLS starts in his career. And, of course, Goma became the 16th teenager in MLS history to score at least 4 goals within his first 400 regular season minutes. Not bad. Valencia also tallied his second assist of the season. He has 2 assists of the season, ranks him tied for 4th, among active MLS defenders this season. Noah Ella tallied his first assist of the season, his 4th of his career. Eric Choupo-Moting scored now his 3rd MLS goal of the season. He has now tallied the goal contribution 4 straight matches. He's heating up, boys. His 4-match goal streak contributions is the longest for a New York Red Bulls player since 2023. That's recent history. Defender Tim Parker. It's been a while. Made his first MLS start this season and his first for the Red Bulls since November 8, 2020. Damn, 5 years. And against Toronto FC. Now, the Red Bulls have won 3 of the first 4 home matches at Sports Illustrated Stadium to begin the season, which is only the 4th time. 4, since the stadium opened in 2010 has that been accomplished. Fortress of solitude indeed. And New York has earned 488 points, Lanre, at home since 2010, which is the most in MLS in that time span. And finally, your man of the match, which was voted by you guys. Thank you very much. Carlos Coronel recorded his 50th career MLS goalkeeping win with New York, and he became the 2nd goalkeeper in franchise history to accomplish that feat. Lanre, we're going to start with you. Your thoughts, sir, of the match, your heroes, your GOATs. And be kind.
Okay.
And don't be kind.
Okay, so I thought it was a great match. I thought we rebounded really well. We responded really well after going behind disappointingly in the first half. We were able to really quickly turn that around and make it into our favor. I thought we were unfortunate to not have won by more. I thought Chris Brady did pretty well in the Chicago net, but I thought Coronel definitely did better in our net. I think for me, the men of the match should be shared between Sir Goma and also Coronel. Goma, not only did he score his first goal for a little bit, in his first start for a little bit, but also he was really active. He was running at defenders. He wasn't, he was using his pace. He was not afraid to take anybody on. He was dishing the rock too, and I thought he should have gotten an assist to Choupo-Moting as well. I was sure he was going to finish that. I was shocked he didn't. And of course, Coronel coming up big. Noah Ayla also, he had a really great match as well. Shout out to him, props to him. Center back with his passing range and vision are very important to have on the team. And now, for the ones who are not so good, I thought Dylan Niels kind of struggled. I mean, Jonathan Bamba honestly just wrecked him completely, just left him for dead. I thought Tim Parker really struggled. I was kind of disappointed to see that. I thought that he was going to come in and be an instant improvement over Alex Hawk.
Well, he had some bright spots though. He did
He
have some bright
did.
spots.
He did.
I mean, he
He
wasn't.
did.
A,
I mean,
it
we
wasn't
see
a
how he got
complete. It wasn't a complete bum job. Let's get that straight. Okay.
Absolutely
But
not. I was just a little
yeah,
disappointed.
yeah. But there
Well,
were some issues that made me go, maybe we should have gotten some. I mean, I didn't realize he was that slow. I mean, but then again, this is
yeah.
this is part and parcel of what you get. But you're right, though.
He was never fast, to be clear. He was never fast. Long was always the faster of the two
right
before he did his Achilles.
Yeah, for his Achilles and stuff like that. I wonder how he's doing these days. Miguel, your thoughts on the match? And I know you have plenty to say on that, specifically, of course, in the back line. Go for it, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to concur with what Lanre said. Dylan Nealis was poor. I thought Tim Parker was slow. Okay, and what Noah Ellie had his best game ever for us. Okay, he was fantastic, as you said, Gary, putting out fires all over the place. And what a pass to Valencia, who put like an inch perfect cross for Gomez golazo. Okay, right, and then the other play that led to a goal, it was Emil to Chupo, one timing it to Dylan Nealis. Now, I think we're lucky that the Chicago player took Dylan Nealis out, because who knows would Dylan have scored? Okay, would he have laid it off to a Sofo? Sofo might have been offside. So, but overall, I have to agree with the man of the match that was picked. Carlos Coronel was absolutely insane for us in goal. Okay, Chicago should have, they should have tied. Maybe they could have won the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if Coronel didn't make the saves that he made. Okay, that's it. I'll take the win and we move on. And you know what? Chicago's not one of the better teams in MLS.
Huh? Wait a minute. Whoa. Run that back a little bit. They were red hot coming into this game, dude.
They did well this year.
Yes, Cyprus was. I mean, Chicago was virtually undefeated on the road.
Listen,
go ahead.
I would bet money that we wind up over them in the standings. Okay, I think we.
Well,
so then. This is a team that we should have won, and we did win. However, it was kind of dicey there for a bit, Gary.
Well, that I agree with you. That I totally agree with you. I was sitting up in the box along with everybody going, as Chicago kept pressing, and we were wondering if the dam was going to break, but didn't. And so, kudos to the defense, for sticking up. And this is something, of course, the designated players and MLS broadcast, of course, is Bob, my man. We love him very much. We're going to have him on the show pretty soon at full strength. I think it's Hack and Ellie in the back two, Hack and Ellie Sean Nealis in the back three, Hack switching the ball, and Ellie playing on thing are weapons. That's true. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the speed. If you're going to deal with anyone on the, speeding out, anyone pacing out wide, up the middle, and once they get past these guys, that's an issue. Whether they're weapons or not, that's one of my concerns. And you saw it here with Chicago. You saw it in Chicago. You saw it against Nashville. You saw it. I mean, guys were just simply, there are gaps in that defense. And that's my concern. And when you have those gaps that can be exploited, you're going to have such issues like this. Good thing is there's plenty of time to tighten that up. But I can't be the only person that sees that. Myself, Mark, everybody. I mean, even Nicholas, he brought it up. Okay, he brought it up. In his post game assessment, he brought this up. Something has to be done. Now, the good news is, while it's not leaky, there are issues, guys, and I have to ask everyone. Is it a concern to everyone? I know it's a concern to me. What say y'all? I mean,
well,
probably no.
Yes, big problem. Okay, let me tell you something. While we're talking about Hack has been poor. Okay, and the evidence of this past game with Tim Parker starting didn't have the greatest game at all. Okay, his lack of speed was plain for all to see. And let me tell you, Dylan Nealis. Okay,
I thought he improved. It seems like he's regressed. I mean, I was at
exactly.
I was at the
Most
point where,
improved
you know what?
last year. Tough,
Yeah, I
tough
said,
start
you
this
know
year.
what? Maybe this is something. I mean, I don't want to sound like some guy that, some hater, but as much as I like Dylan, dude needs to sit. I mean, really,
But
dude needs to
but
sit.
who do
Start
we
Kyle.
have?
Nobody. I mean, that's
Kyle.
just it. Huh?
Kyle?
Well, he's now
Kyle
working his
Duncan.
way. He's
Okay.
Duncan. He's working his
Well,
way.
he
down
was
the
still
fitness. He
hurt.
was questionable.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was hurt.
Force.
He was hurt. Right. He's working his way back in the fitness. He's not ready yet. But this is what happens when you're dealing with injuries. And we had a laundry list of players who were hurt. Okay. And then you add Lewis Morgan, and everyone was ready to hang themselves off the GW Bridge. Okay. So this is what this is what you had to deal with. Okay.
One of the Verrazano or the Gotham.
I mean, or either or. Okay. People were ready to say, "Oh, the season's over. We're done. Back up the truck." I'm like, calm down. Game 5 of 35. Calm down. He'll be back. We'll be okay. I mean, so I agree that folks, it may look bad, but let's not, declare the season over yet.
You know what,
Gary?
I'm
Go ahead,
going
Miguel.
to say this. If we're going to go through the season with like a subpar defense, okay, or maybe one guy or two are not the best at their position, that the lack of speed, we have to see some of these guys taking the chances that they get. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Up in New England, you saw it. As I said, Sofo should have scored, Goma should have scored, but they didn't take their chances. Okay, lucky for us, this game, Goma took his chance, and the ref gave us a penalty, which was an absolute stone cold penalty. But we can't rely on that at all times.
No, you
Okay.
can't, unfortunately. And that's the main thing. So we got our man in the match. We got our heroes and goats and everything else. All things considered, it was a bounce back win that they needed, and the bounce back win they got. When's the last time this team had a losing streak? It's been a while. So this is a very good team. Good teams tend to avoid these things. However, it's put themselves in 8th place at the moment, tied, at 11 points, tied with some other teams. One of those teams they're getting ready to face next week, which is Orlando City. And it's a return match. And remember the last time these two guys, these guys clashed, we walked out of there with, a draw. When we return, of course, after the break, Lanre and Miguel are about to tell you the tale of the wonderful team called from Orlando City and why walking in the jungle this time may be fraught with peril. This is going to be fun. I hate return matches. We'll see you back here in 30 seconds. Yeah. All right, our next match, and of course, our next game thread will take place in the City Beautiful, which is, of course, over in Orlando City. We got friends where most people simply hate a certain rodent that happens to be the chief resident down in Florida. But of course, all right, I know. But of course, Orlando City, of course, is where the home over. Which is, of course, the kickoff's at 4:30. Please note the time versus Orlando City. Head to head, they haven't been around very much. 11-9-4. Okay, so Orlando 5-5-2. This is going to be the 23rd meeting, the 25th overall. Last time we won Orlando, y'all remember that game? It was the win that got us the Eastern title. Last time we won, I'm sure that's something that their fans and that team remembers. Okay. I mean, after all, we've had teams come in our house and won championships with the confetti and everything else. It was nice to be able to do that to somebody else's house for a change. Nevertheless, there's a game to be played. Lanre, all yours.
Man, oh man. Let me tell you. I don't think they've really washed the bitter taste of losing the Eastern Conference Final at home out of their mouths, that fan base yet. Because let me tell you how sweet it was after physically going down there to see us get destroyed in a U.S. Open Cup semifinal in 2022.
We haven't forgotten
Getting
about that,
revenge
have we?
in the U.S. Open semifinal is so much sweeter. That being said, obviously we played them to a 2-2 draw up here just a few weeks ago. Their last game was a 0-0 draw up in Philadelphia against the Union, where Pedro Gallese, their star goalkeeper, was man of the match. Orlando actually have a pretty, they had a pretty interesting setup lately. Last game they played a 4-4-2. Luis Muriel, who I thought was completely washed last season when he came over. He seems to be coming alive. 3 goals, 2 assists this season. They've put Martin Ojeda up top to be his strike partner. He's got 4 goals and 3 assists. He scored the opener in the game in the first match here against us, and also Marco Pasalic, the young 24-year-old the Croatian winger they signed from Rijeka. He scored the second goal to put them up 2-1 in our game up here, and he's been a key addition for them. 4 goals, 1 assist so far, and they have a pretty decent attack. Pasalic obviously being a natural replacement for Facundo Torres, the Uruguayan who was sold to Palmeiras in Brazil over the winter. But saying that, one place where they have struggled is keeping the ball out of the net. They've been able to score, so they do have a better goal difference than us, but they've also been struggling in keeping the ball out of the net. Their defense has kind of been a sore spot for them. Robin Janssen, I think, has more yellow cards from screaming at the ref than like actual positive goal, goal defense or whatever. So that's something that, or how many times is his face going to get like hot ass red during the match down there, from screaming at the ref or screaming at an opponent or just trying to rile somebody up. I was waiting for Sean Nealis to rock him, but I mean, last game he almost did. I really wanted that to happen. I can't stand that guy, but I think it should be a good game down there.
Okay, Miguel. We've often said it that Orlando is one of those squads, especially when it's coached by, Oscar Pereira, that you really don't want to face these dudes down the stretch. Saw them for a couple of games, and I agree with you, Lanre. Their defense is suspect. Okay, but they can point for points on the board if you let them, which has me a little bit concerned going in this match because of our defensive woes. You agree?
Right. You know what? They have players that can get with speed that can get behind. Okay, that's the issue in Orlando. Although I do feel more confident than I did when we went up to New England, because up in that turf we can't win for anything. But we've won that in Orlando. Okay. Nice field. So what? I'm sorry. What is it?
When it mattered most, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
When it mattered,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, except for that U.S. Open Cup game, But their defense is
the Eastern Conference Final cancels that out.
Okay.
ECF cancels that out.
But as you said, their defense is a bit suspect. They've been playing like Rodrigo Schlegel, man. Remember that guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't think he's a serious with all due respect.
Right, and Gallese is the Peruvian national team goalkeeper, So
and he has his moments. I mean,
right, he does have his moments. He's had his moments where he's let in a howler or two. Okay, so hopefully this will be one of those games. Okay,
He
but you know
doesn't have
what?
he doesn't have a problem getting up against the
Okay,
Red
yeah,
Bulls. I mean, there
right.
have been some times where he has straight up stoned us, okay, especially when we were knocking on the door pretty hard. So he has a tendency to sometimes put on his A game, and when he does, he's a treat to watch, even at our expense. However, we have a goalkeeper on our own who's basically heating up. He's also can able to, you know, howler or two whenever he's pressed to service. But
Right, right.
I think we're going to be just fine in that area. So,
But
tell me where.
Gary,
Okay, tell me where the game, will the match will be won or lost. Is it the defense or the midfield?
I don't think it's the defense,
Midfield.
Gary. Okay, I think
Midfield.
I think it's going to be the midfield. Okay,
Okay.
Emil is going to have to have some good play. He's going to have to connect with Chupo. The young kids, if they make a start, like in Goma, is he going to start again? But guys like him and so forth are going to have to take their chances, Gary.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you were saying before, Orlando's defense is suspect, so we can take full advantage. And another thing that we were talking about before, how many times can Coronel go insane like he did, save us point blank range? We can't expect him to have such
No.
heroics every game.
Nope.
Okay?
No.
Can't rely on that.
Right.
I mean, your defense
that's
is going to
planning
have
to
to
fail.
step up.
Yeah.
Your defense is going to have to step up at some point. The defensive core is going to have to look in the mirror and go, okay, you know what? We're better than this, but we can't let teams with too many chances, especially when we know that we don't have our main scorers on the field. I'm sure
Right.
they're aware of that. And I'm sure someone's going to bring that up during the press conference. But again, this is going to be, one of the. I'm not saying it's going to be a stiff test, but as we get closer to the 10th game of the season, no, you never won a championship with 10 games going in, but if you screw up often enough, you can find yourself out of it. And I'm not panicking just yet, boys. Okay. We're tied with 11 points. If you had asked yourselves, with all the injuries that this team has, you'd still be in the thick of it, minus all your best players. I think you take that every day of the week. Okay. So kudos on Sandro Schwartz, at least keeping the squad together, not to panic. There was some, of course, where he fell through the traps here and there. But because of where they are right now, if you look at the standings, I'd say you got them right where you want him at the moment. And we've all seen where this team wound up when they were, at that point of the season, and then somehow they got hot, which is everyone, which is whatever. But I think things are going to be a little different because when you look at the East, Lanre, it's it's murderer's row this year. A lot of those teams that you're chasing have beefed up. Okay. And take a look at, Columbus, if you please. Okay. Columbus. They got rid of arguably their greatest player that got them that Leaders Championship, and they're balling right now. So
It's incredible. I did not expect that from them. I thought they were going to really take a step back, but no, they're atop the Eastern Conference right now. Granted, Miami has one less game played currently, but still, like, they're undefeated, 7 games in, four wins and three draws. I thought Columbus were really going to struggle to start this season out the gates after selling Cucho to Real Betis.
right.
Yeah, I saw him play this weekend. I was watching those highlights.
Yeah.
Real Betis,
Yeah.
And he's doing well over there.
He's a great fit for them. I really like that signing. I like Betis, so
yeah,
happy for him.
Youth movement, of course, is coming. Kasule, Hall, Mitchell, Goma, Rossborough, I really like. Okay, and of course, Dos Santos is another guy. We're going to talk about Red Bull 2 in about a second because they're playing some ball right now. They are undefeated. When's the last time you heard us say something like that? As a matter of fact, this whole weekend, it's really good to be a Red Bull fan because you're loving what's happening in the current team and you're loving what's happening in the future, the way it's supposed to be. We're gonna have a nice little pipeline that, and such like that. And speaking of New York Red Bulls 2, they played Chicago Fire FC 2 over at MSU Soccer Park. And that was a bar burner, but hey, they won 3-2 over the Fire 2. Dos Santos, Hall, Kasule, and of course, Bolsa Casano, they got theirs as well. Of course, with the victory, the New York Red Bulls 2 have tied their best start through 4 matches in club history, 3 wins, no losses, 1 draw, along with the 2019, remember them, and the 2024 campaigns. The match now is their 60th in MLS Next Pro competition. And guys, this was New York's 125th club in history. 125 wins. They're racking it up. New York remained undefeated against Chicago at home. They love playing the Fire too. They just love playing them, okay? Improving to, in 5 games, they haven't lost to them. 3 wins, no losses, 2 draws. And MSU Soccer Park against this club. Red Bulls 2 has tallied 3 goals in back-to-back contests. They got some scorers up front. Maybe we need to take a little, you and I and everybody else need to take a little trip down to campus and see these kids. I intend to do so soon. Matthew Dos Santos is something that Mark Coates spoke of. Recorded his first professional goal in his first career start for New York Red Bulls 2. Julian Hall, remember him? Notched his second goal of the campaign. He's not going to stay long. He keeps this up, Lanre. He's going to be gone before the summer. Okay? He's on the second goal of the campaign, 11th of his New York Red Bulls 2 career. He has scored in back-to-back contests. Also notched his 30th career appearance with the club. Ibrahim Kasule, he's my guy. I like this guy. Recorded his first goal of the season, 23rd in New York career, 1 shy of the club's all-time mark. It was set by 24 by guess who? Everybody should know this guy. Guess who? He's 1 goal shy. He's 1 goal shy. Brandon Allen. Remember him?
Brandon Allen.
Yeah. Brandon Allen. Remember him with that assist? He moved into a tie with Ovante Mullings for 5th in club history with 10. The midfielder has tallied 5 career goals against Chicago. They're sick of him. Out of all the guys who punishes this club, Ibrahim Kasula is, Chicago, can we play you every week? Goalkeeper Adrian Stokes did a really good job against New York City Football 2 up in Red Bull Sports Illustrated Stadium. Tallied 2 saves in net for New York, moving on the tie with Ryan Mira, the legendary Ryan Mira, for 4th most in the club with 75. Midfielder Rafael Mosquera, he made his 15th career start with Red Bulls 2, along with Adri Meni leading his 10th in his career. And finally, the guy that everyone should be looking at, Nihan Benedetti, made his pro debut coming in the game and coming in the match in the 57th minute. So when you look at what's happening with New York Red Bulls 2 and the fantastic job that that Ibra is doing with those kids and bringing them up to speed with the program, yet there are some folks in the group that really don't want to give these kids the shine that they deserve. Is it warranted, or is it just simply something that should be dismissed? Your thoughts, Lanre?
I don't think it's necessarily something that should just be summarily dismissed. However, I do think a lot of them are a little too harsh on the RB2 kids. I think you have to really put it in the proper context, before RB2 were playing in the USL Championship, and all of a sudden, this random reshuffling a couple years back, now they're playing in MLS Next Pro, and now they have to play, a lot of these, 15, 16-year-olds.
Teenagers.
A lot of these, playing teenagers all the time. That's basically what the team is now for, because of the league that they play in. When beforehand, it was mostly grown adults who were looking for a shot at their next MLS club. I will never understand that move by Don Garber personally. I don't understand it. I don't exactly like it, but they're doing well at the moment.
Loudoun United is still there. They haven't moved. Loudoun United is still there, and they're churning out balls.
Are they still independent? Wait, are they independent? Or they're a DC team.
The DC's team, slightly independent, but they're affiliated with DC United, but they're still in They're still in USL. Still, They're losing every
How come
damn
they
week, but they're still there. They felt that it would be detrimental to their development program if they moved and played against teenagers, against grown men, which you know what they say, pressure. You're going up against guys who are trying to play their way to an MLS contract or get some GM or somebody or sporting director to notice them. And you got a lot of guys, in USL that can straight up ball. And this is why I sometimes say to even Red Bull, hey, don't turn your nose up at these guys at USL. Out of all those players, and I've said this more than once, you got a top 10% of scorers, midfielders, defenders, what have you, that are looking for a contract, any contract. Okay. You got some starving guys out there, and if they get that chance, they will show you how good they are. Sign them. So what can you, I mean, what can you lose? I mean, I understand you want to bring up your kids through the system. And as they do that, they don't know anything but win. But at the same time, when you have decent ballers in another league and they know MLS is a higher league, a higher echelon than USL, which, I don't know, it might change now that they're instituting Pro Rel. I don't think it's going to make a major difference, but a difference nonetheless. We'll see. Why not? But I digress. I mean, that was one of the things that I loved about having Red Bull 2 in USL, because they were treated as an independent club and people rallied around them. Now, you're playing against family and friends and stuff like that, and you're playing against teenagers, to be honest with you. But this is the way of the future, and we'll see how that goes. So it's just, we know that this is going to be quite quite an affair down in Orlando. As we're getting back to that. Overall, Lanre, bottom line, how do you see this game being played, and what's your prediction on this match?
So I think we might see something that's a lot like the first meeting a couple weeks back. I think we're going to see an open game. I think we're going to see free flowing football. I also believe that, honestly, I think we'll come out on top. I like Tom's prediction. I think it'll be 3-2 to the good guys away from home. I think we're gonna make that mouse cry again.
Okay, out of the players on the Orlando side, what should the fans be making sure that hopefully they can be able to keep quiet so they can get out of there with those 3 points?
Probably Luis Muriel, even though like I said, I called him Wash last year, but he seems to have come alive this year. Him and Ojeda, those two are playing up top together again. Definitely keep them quiet, and also you should look to quiet their wingers Ivan Angulo and Marco Pasalic.
Yeah,
especially Ojeda and Pasalic, because they scored.
Ojeda and Pasalic are pain. They really are a pain. Miguel, on the other side of the token, okay, let's look at the Red Bulls and what you feel must happen. Or let's start with a lineup. What's the lineup which you feel that should be able to point out and need to get out of there with a win at least, or at least a draw?
Well, the first thing is Sean Nealis has to be back in the defense. Okay, come on. I don't know exactly why he was not in. Okay, but it's got to be him and Noah Aile as the back 2 center backs. Okay, Dylan Nealis has to step up his game. Okay, he's got to step up his game this weekend coming up. Okay, and the whoever's gonna be up front or in the midfield, like in an attacking position, like this week we saw a couple of the young kids, Sofo, who didn't take their chances at New England. They got to take their chances here. Okay. And listen, Chupo and Emil have to be hooking up. Okay. They got to be hooking up. Chupo has to take his chances if he's going to get it. Okay.
Well, they have been. I mean, they've been hooking up and doing some great doings. What I want to see up front is a little bit more creativity, and it's happening. I want to see some shots. That's what I want to see. I want to see some shots. I want to see make that keeper dance. I mean, you can't, you can't be going up in the final third and go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, lose the ball. We don't want to see that.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to see any thinking up there. I want to see, like you said, take a chance, shoot.
Right.
Take that, take that shot. I don't care if it's saved or anything else or goes in 15 rows in, but at least, have it on the net. That's what I like to see more of. At least that's to me. I'm not so worried about the midfield so much because they're doing a terrific job. Defensively, I agree with you, man. I Dylan, he's got to step up, man. I don't like the fact that he's fading off to the sunset. Don't like that. If I see that one more game, sit that boy. I mean, even if you don't have anyone that can able to step up in that department, the good news is that Gengar and of course Gengar and they're coming off the they should be ready by next week when DC United rolls into town. We might be getting some reinforcements, and that's a good thing. But I don't want Dylan to be rolling around out there like he's got a guaranteed contract and no one's going to offload him. He's got to step up, man. He has to understand that he's in a very very important position, and he's got to step up in that area. And I agree with you, Lanre and Miguel. To me, despite that, I'm going to see this as a 2-2 draw again. Mainly because of the lack of scoring up front and, of course, of defensive woes. I hope I'm wrong. This team has it in them to come out with a road win. It hasn't happened in a while, but I honestly believe, it hasn't happened in a while, but I think this is the time for them to, start putting some 3 points together, start stringing some wins together, start climbing up the table. But I won't be surprised if it ends 2-2. Miguel, what's your prediction?
Garry, I'm going to predict a win, okay? I'm usually pessimistic going away from home, but I'm going to predict a win, okay? I think we take it 2-1, okay? Thank you.
2-1. Okay, yeah. I'm 2-2, you're 2-1. So far, our record's been pretty good. We haven't had a bad one yet. So far. So, Lanre, you got the final word here. Let's what's your prediction?
I mentioned it like 3-2.
3-2. Okay, Lisa is calling it 1-1. Mark is calling it a 2-2 draw. Tom, before he left, is 3-2 for the good guys. We'll see who's right. Next week, we come back home versus the Derby for the OGs, as I always like to say. City, of course, is for the New Jacks. If you've been a supporter like Miguel and myself since 1995, this is for the OGs. Although people will say that DC United, of course, is one off the play side because they haven't won anything in a while. Who cares? It's still DC United. We still hate their guts. But before we even get to that, 4:30 p.m. It's going to be an afternoon delight for that particular match. And, of course, it's going to be on Apple TV. Before we go, there was a very interesting debate on and off the group about Apple TV and MLS, the deal in particular. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, specifically yours, Miguel. Do you feel that now we're like on our second year in, has Apple TV doing their part or have done enough to help grow the league in this country? Trying to bring new fans in, not the diehards. They're always going to be there. I'm talking about new fans.
Yeah, Garry, I was reading just recently, the last week or two.
Yeah,
the league is talking about that they're going to have to opt out of like
you must have saw the same. You must have read the same article I did.
Thing.
Yeah,
I'm telling you that I have to agree with what the MLS execs were saying in that article. The league is now behind.
Nameless, by the way. Nameless.
Right.
He didn't want to put his name out there, but he said a lot. But go ahead.
The league is behind the paywall now. okay? And there's a lot of people that just don't have Apple TV, okay? And you can't just like say, oh, let's see what's on. Oh, MLS, okay? Like the Red Bull games were on MSG and people could have tuned in because
that was behind the
most
paywall.
people have MSG, you know?
Right. Yeah. It was on. It was a basic tier. It was a basic tier until
local, and you know, and if you had like a basic cable TV tier, you probably had like ESPN or you have Fox or Fox Sports 2, okay, and you could find MLS games on just regular cable. You can't do that anymore, okay?
No.
So, you know, I know the league is all about the almighty dollar with the massive fees charged for expansion franchises, okay? But, you know, they're going to get left behind as far as viewership, okay? And I mean, I'm not saying that the MLS is Premier League level, okay? But,
no.
Right. No. As far as viewership, and you know what? That's how the Prem makes most of their money, through TV. Okay, people pay a lot of money
being
to
accessible.
Watch. Well, it is accessible. Exactly.
Well, it is accessible on these shows, but I
Oh,
promise you, back over there, they're behind the paywall too. Okay,
they do have the same problems.
Yeah, they do have the same problems. I mean, in order for you to get, in order for you to watch any Premiership footy, it's a premium package. It's like NFL level premium.
Right, you have to have the Sky Sports.
Correct.
This package,
or go to a pub and see the games. That's pretty much how it works. Okay. Yeah. So you can't just sit.
Easier for me to watch a Chelsea game here than it would be over there.
Over there, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so people, we have one of our members over in Britain right now. Okay, and we're hoping we can bring him on the show and he can shed light to this. Okay, and people think it's pretty much easy to watch to follow their teams over in England. Not so. For many people I spoke to, Lanre, the one word that really hits me here is distribution. And what I mean by distribution is, you have one game a week on Fox, okay? The only free TV outlet for Major League Soccer. When it was on ESPN, occasionally they put it on ABC, but most of the time you see La Liga, you see the Bundesliga, you don't see MLS anywhere. And they had those guys, had MLS for years. Matter of fact, ESPN started out, MLS started out with ESPN when the league started, if you remember. But then nobody watched. Nobody. Okay. Even though it was on a basic tier channel. Okay. A lot of people complained that it was about to leave. So now you got Apple and you got Messi coming in, Messi all over the place. Lanre, if you was never mind, I know you're the diehard of diehards, but if you was a casual, would this league turn you on or no? Or should I say, you know what, as a casual, what should Apple do to get more people like you to watch, to watch the league?
Yeah, I mean, if I were a casual, I'd definitely say they should definitely make more than one game a week freely accessible on Apple TV. I think one game a week, and I think is really strange. I also really do not like the fact that every game is usually on at the same time. They're doing a better job with it this year, but last season and the season before, like every game was usually at 7:30. I think like uniformly, no matter whether it was like a Wednesday or Sunday or a Saturday, I think that's really whack. I think that's unfortunate. I think it's unfair to traveling, to away fans even. Say like they want to because the best thing when I was going to frequent away trips was, having afternoon games or like early evening games and then going out, and agreeing, and like getting to enjoy the city I was in afterwards.
Right.
We don't really have that.
Just to catch a 2:00 game. That's a tough slug. I did it.
No, I think it was great. I think it was an essential part of the away.
No complaints. No complaints. When you go with fellow supporters, it's fun. It really is fun. But
Amazing.
but to me, it was like, okay, so we're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was a full day trip. By the way, you wouldn't get home like around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. But I agree with you. I mean, the distribution, they've gotten better with their scheduling. You got 2 o'clock games, you got 4:30 games, you got 5 o'clock games, and you got 7 o'clock. To me, the one day that they're missing, Friday. Why aren't there two
Yes,
games on
that's a big
Friday
one.
night? I have no idea. That is such a missed opportunity, and it shouldn't be
How?
behind the paywall. It shouldn't be behind the paywall.
No,
You
I
have,
agree. It should not.
should not be a paywall. You should have a Friday. You have a Friday doubleheader. Okay, Miguel, Friday doubleheader. East Coast team, West Coast team. Call it a day, and then you can have the bulk of the rest of your schedule. Okay, on a Saturday, starting of course at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Done. That's enough. Then you got Sunday. You got your afternoon, and you got your nightcap. Done. Again, those two games should not be on the paywall. Should be on network TV. Call it a day.
I
Do that.
think
Do that, and you're going to get a lot of new fans. I promise you.
I agree.
You lead off on Friday night with free games. You end the weekend with at least one free game. Okay, Miguel? One free game. Okay. But for that one game, or for that game, okay, for that particular game, it's got to be your showcase game, your A game, your top teams right there. That were able to draw, not necessarily messy all the time. Could be a team in first place in the Western Conference. Could be a team in the first place in the Eastern Conference, or during rivalry week. NYCFC versus New York Red Bulls. That's your Sunday. That's your Sunday night show. Showcase. That's your rivalry game right there, and it should be free. Should not be behind the paywall. Should not be behind. Let everybody see the Hudson River Derby for all to see. At least that's my 2 cents. But I'm not the running the league, as they say. Good talk.
I will say though.
Go ahead.
I will say though, my hot take about Sunday night matches is that they should not start. There should not be a kickoff after 6 p.m. on a Sunday night.
I agree.
4:30. So work night. Yeah, 4:30 even. 4:30 would be perfect.
4:30. You have your wrap up show around 7 o'clock with everybody else watching. There you go.
And people go to sleep early on Sunday night.
You're welcome. This is how we fix the league. You're welcome.
Why do they not?
You're welcome. I don't know. I don't know.
Big wigs not this. I don't get it.
I mean, if you're going to put everything in the paywall, make it the bulk of your schedule on a Saturday. That's it. Make it the bulk. You should have 3 games every match day. Okay. Your 2 Friday night games, your 1 Sunday night, Sunday afternoon game on national TV. Everybody else behind the paywall. Enjoy. I mean, can't see, the possibilities. Next week, of course, Nicholas and Mark will be with us as we, of course, review, what happened over Orlando and get you guys set for DC United at Sports Illustrated Stadium. The rivalry of rivalries, the OG rivalry, as we like to call it. I let people like to dismiss it, but that's going to be one of our big games up there. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead.
3 points right there, Garry. I'm
well,
right
yeah.
Now.
Let's take care. Let's hope they take care of business on Orlando first, okay? For Lanre Badmus, for Miguel Nunez, I'm Garry Redmond. Thank you guys very much for joining us this last hour. Don't forget, if you missed this live broadcast, don't worry about it. You can catch, of course, our on-demand channel on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can watch us, of course, if you happen to have X, formerly a Twitter, and, of course, our home from the very beginning, Spotify.com. So that's it. Until next week, thank you very much for joining us. Good night and goodbye for now. We